fam, what's going on? How are y'all doing? Don't hate, don't hate. I represent. All right, let me get into the camera so I can talk to you guys. How are y'all doing? This was a crazy weekend, y'all. I was just on the stop nonstop since I went off grid Friday afternoon, and it's just been to the grind. Yesterday was kind of a reset, reboot, recharge. And as y'all know, if you know, I bleed blue and they won. So let me get into a little about what was amazing. The weekend was awesome. It was a hustle and bustle, but what was really amazing yesterday, as I was barely watching the game through my tired eyes. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. It's all good. I'm a diehard fan, so that's basically really the only television I do watch when they're doing good. So what happened was that they pulled the quarterback, Russell Wilson, right? And they put in Jackson Dart. And it was just absolutely crazy because everybody was just like, is this kid ready? They were kind of like huffing and puffing about him. And, haters are hate. And, when you're doing great, people will support. When you're not, people are not going to support, right? So anyways, the long of the short was this kid, sacrificed himself for real on the team, on the field, and he just really did amazing things. And to be mindful, at one point of the segment was that at one point he kind of made a play and then he had his hands on his knees, and the commentators said it was because he was upset that the flag was thrown, but others said he was exhausted. Regardless, it was crazy because he had to be pulled from the game, because from the press box, when they noticed that on a quarterback, they will pull him for a medical assessment evaluation. And so the reason why I say this is because Wilson had to come back in to play for the quarterback of the Giants for a play or two. But none the fact, it was the reason why I'm saying this is because the words of my best friend, my kindred spirit, my fellow adoptee, my coach, my mentor, Les Brown, he said one of his notorious quotes is that it's better to be prepared and for an opportunity and not have one, as opposed to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So in this condition, it was under the mindset that, Jackson Dart was going to be the primary quarterback yesterday, pardon me. And then he, made a physical gesture of concern from the higher ups. And so he was pulled. Russell Wilson went back in. So what does that mean for you? I don't know if y'all quarterbacks. I don't know if y'all play football, play sports, or what have you. But the mentality and the mindset of being prepared regardless, having an opportunity or not having one, that it's best to always be prepared, always be ready, as I say, to choose to press play, plan life according to you, take action. And, when we get to the sticker on this hat is curling, so pardon me, and it's bothering me a little bit. It says an interruption, distraction, whatever. It's early. The sun's coming up. Is that if we want to excel at something, right? If we have a passion for something, if we want to do well in any type of arena, we have to be ready to go. We have to be ready with pads on. We have to be ready with our game face on, the mentality to be prepared so we can take action. And I did some assessments, personal assessments, as I mentioned to you last week. One of my goals is to really kind of assess and take inventory on what I'm doing with my best business and to take action. And in doing so, I realized in summariness of my business, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. However, certain things aren't moving forward. There's minimal or little progress. But in other aspects of my business, it is thriving. It is killing. It is going really, really well. So I want you to think about that when you are looking about the opportunities to say, hey, what am I doing to move the needle forward towards progression? And what am I doing in the realms of not making major moves? Because who's to say, you know, when I was in the academy with Les and we were going through the motions at any given time, unless you raised your hand, Les would choose you, like, when you're in a classroom and your teacher thinks you're not paying attention and they choose you. And I remember my opportunity came up to speak to him. And I was anticipating. Oh, I can't wait. All these people are talking to Les live and they're getting great support and feedback. But I had to be ready. So when that opportunity presented itself, I was cool, calm, collected, and confident. That's the key component. And that's what we have to be mindful of is, are we confident? Are we competent? And are we constantly taking action? Because who knows? As I was mentioning before, who knows is who's watching or listening to your content. There's a lot of ninja watchers out there. A lot of them will just throw emojis. A lot of them will just be watching silently from under the covers or on transit to or from commute. And we don't know who those people are. But when the opportunity presents itself and says, I want you, are you ready? You got to be ready. You can't have excuses. Excuses sound best to those who create them. You have to be ready to say, I'm ready to go. Let's start the show. Because if you're not ready, you may not know when your time is the person in front of you, the person that was chosen, may have to come out for that play. Like I mentioned yesterday, for those of you who are American National Football Leaguers who have your teams, that's what happened yesterday. The backup quarterback was all-star, aimed to play yesterday. And because of a gesture that they made of possibly injured or in pain, upstairs called him off for the play, and the starting quarterback came back in, who was pulled. You never know. And that's what the lesson that I took away from yesterday's game, although they won. Woohoo! Go Giants. And it's just really putting into perspective, are you ready to play? When it's showtime, are you ready to get up on stage? When they pass you the mic, are you ready to speak? We have to be prepared. We have to be prepared for an opportunity, regardless if it occurs or not. Because if you're not ready when your time is called, then what was all that work for? What was the passion? There's no room for error, and there's no reason for complaining. You know what I mean? I see all on the feeds and these scrolls. Oh, I want to speak. I want to get paid to speak. I want to speak in schools. Well, what actions are you taking on the daily grind that as soon as the coach says, you're in, let's go, and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have all my materials. Oh my goodness, I don't have a speech prepared. You never know. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned, because in the beginning, I was not moving as fast as I'd like. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I was a percentage ready. So be mindful of that in the workplace, in your relationships, in life, in your family, in your career, and if you're starting a business. Be prepared even when you don't have an opportunity. So that way, when the opportunity presents itself, you are prepared. It's very embarrassing when they say, all right, game time, it's your turn, and you're not ready. It's really not only embarrassing, but kind of says, well, then what is your passion? What are you waiting for? You know, your opportunity has came and you missed it. You only get one life and opportunity of a lifetime every now and again. And that's what I've been working on. That's what I've been working on in the aspects of my life, probably within the past week. You know, I'm watching these on the playback on the YouTube channel. I'm watching these kind of, you know, I'm talking to you, but at the same time, subconsciously and consciously talking to myself that I have to watch them because it's probably a message that I need to hear. And that goes for all my work. You know, what am I doing to move the needle marker forward? What am I doing to work towards progress as opposed to regression? And am I ready when the coach calls me? Am I ready to play the game? You know, you got to be ready. You know, you're working so hard for something. You know, you have to ask yourself, well, when push comes to shove, am I ready to take action? And that's what we got to do. You know, that's what we have to do in life. We have to really be mindful of not only the work that we're doing to get to the next level of success, but to make sure that we're prepared for the next level of success. Are all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, ducks in a row? You know, all those cliches. Because if you're not ready, then you can't complain. There's no reason to complain. Now, I'm not saying not to be nervous. I'm not saying not to take it seriously. But I'm just saying you reap what you sow. You know what I mean? If you're grinding, take a fine, you know, look under the microscope. What is working? What's not working? And if something's not working, who's the go-to person that has mastered it that I can connect with that it's working for them? You know, it was really interesting. You know, like I said, this weekend was a crazy off-grid weekend. As you know, all my weekends are. They're either dedicated to family or dedicated for speaking events. And it was just the hustle and bustle. And then, you know, as I watched the game, I was just like, oh my goodness, they're taking him out, you know, and was Wilson ready? And he was. I mean, yeah. But you just got to be ready to be called, to have your name called, because that could be the one shot that you get. So make sure you're doing your due diligence. Make sure that you are putting things into order, taking action. And one of the key things too, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of people that I've spoken to over the course of this journey say, well, Andrea, I don't have anything. I said, well, then you have nothing to lose. If you don't have anything, then what's the risk? Take the risk, take the jump, take the leap. You know, there's going to be people in the industry, in the world, when you say you don't have anything, that'll say a few responses to that. They'll say, well, then I guess it's not important to you. No. Another comment I've heard, well, when you say something like you don't have anything, well, then I guess it's not important to you. No. If you don't have anything, well, then I can't help you. No. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose but to gain. And that is one of the leaps that I'm taking in a few aspects of my life is that, well, people are not going to agree with you, accept you for who you are. And that's just facts. That's going to happen regardless. But when you are passionate about something, forget the naysayers. You know, a lot of people forget where they started and what they've gone through to where they're at right now. I'm not those people. I'll meet you where you're at. I'll tell you like it is. I'll tell you, we'll cry together. We'll laugh together. We'll yell together. We'll sit in silence together. We'll scream together. Because I have remembered and am cognizant of where I am today, what it looks like, what life's path was up until this point. And again, I'm not here to judge. If you're here to judge, that's not my style. I don't know why you are, because nobody can judge except you know who. So when people have told me, well, I said, you know what? In whatever conversation it was, I said, I don't have anything. Some of the responses were just like, well, then I guess it's for somebody else who's serious. Yo, I'm coming to you because I look to you for support. And if you're going to throw back at me, then I guess it'll go to somebody else who's more serious. That's judgment. I don't know how else to way to call it, but that's judgment. And because of my situations, this is where I'm at. This is the cards that dealt me right now and right today. I've had other people share with me that when they told somebody that had nothing, then they said, I can't help you. Well, wow, you can't help them? They're confiding trust in you and you can't help them. Then what does that say when you say you want to help people? Doesn't it cancel out? Just me? So in the long of the short, I appreciate y'all showing up this morning. It is beautiful, and I'm wearing my gear and celebrating my G-men because I love them regardless, always. And that's the thing, that I'm not trying to boast, but that's the thing about me. Like, I'll meet you where you're at. I'll respect you where you are, and I'm going to support you until otherwise. And that's just me, So if somebody tells you, or somebody was to ask you, hey, I have something available for you that you've been looking for in less than an hour. Are you ready? Are you ready? And if you're not ready, what do you need to modify or tweak to be ready, to get ready? Because that opportunity may not present itself. On the second point, if you're asking somebody for help and you're 100% transparent and honest, where there's a will, there's a way. But if they tell you that they can't help you, or the price is not right, or the time is not right, be mindful. Because that may not be a reflection of you. That's a reflection of them. You ask anybody, we'll make it work. But how bad do you want it? We'll make it work. So in wrapping this up for this absolutely beautiful Monday, y'all, it is a 55-degree Fahrenheit kind of day. Sun is slowly rising behind me. All the elements in nature and animals are waking up. Okay, key points, key takeaways from today. Number one, in the words of Les Brown, my mentor, my kindred spirit, my coach, my friend, my fellow adoptee. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Quote, Mr. Les Brown, my kindred spirit. So that's number one, be ready. Number two, be honest, be transparent, whether you're on the receiving end or providing end. Meet people where they're at. Don't judge. Who's perfect in this world, and who has the right to judge? Because if you're judging, then you're replacing somebody of great stature that only does, and I don't even think they do. Number three, assess your situation. See where you're at in your timeline, in your success, in your lineage, on where you are to get you to the next level and what you have to do to make modifications. And on that note, y'all, this is your girl, Andrea Mason, your first choice, your global voice, alumna of Les Brown, the CEO of Press Play Plan Life According to You, LLC, your personal accountability coach, as well as the legacy and lifestyle consultant, where I help you bridge the gap from where you were to where you used to be through the healing power of forgiveness, as well as getting you from victim to victorious. I will see you same place, same time tomorrow, 7:30. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe this, share this out. If you missed this live, don't worry. It's on my YouTube channel on the playback, and I'll see you when I see you. Ciao. Love you guys. Take care. Be safe, and go Giants.